Welcome to LSC, it's Sports Time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have with me Henry Morgan, caretaker of the Peninsula Pilots. Actually, he does more than that, but this is a real coup for me to get Henry in here. Appreciate you coming in, Henry.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's go back a little bit, because you got to play ball at Hampton High School, got to play with some good guys, but you didn't play just baseball. You also played a lot of basketball.
Well, I was on the team. I played JV basketball for Coach Bob Shamlin.
Right, I know Bob very well.
Yeah, what a great guy. And then in '69, I played on the state championship basketball team. I didn't play much. I played behind the best point guard in the state of Virginia, Pat Patrick. And, you know, it's just a thrill to win a state championship. And although I had a very small role in it, you know, just showing up to practice and covering Pat.
Yeah, I was going to say, who'd you guard while you were at practice?
It was very special for me. And
who were some of the other guys that's on that team?
Yeah. Forwards were Dino Dunn and John Wheeler, who was my best friend growing up and is today.
Big John.
Big John Wheeler. And Steve Mitchell was I guess our sixth man, great shooter, tremendous rebounder. Foley Jones was our center, who was a leader on our team,
right,
and went on to become a leader in the business world. Mike Anastasio, talented basketball player, went to the University of Richmond.
Right.
And
they had two guards on it, just unbelievable. I remember, because I was coaching at Buckrow at the time. They were at Thornton Junior High School. We never could beat those two guys. I mean, because those two guards, they were just like, they knew what each other was going to do. It was just amazing.
Well, it wasn't because of your coaching ability. A lot of people lost to those two guys. So.
I appreciate that, Henry. Well, then after you graduated from Hampton, you went to college.
Yeah. I did. I went to Randolph-Macon College in Ashland.
Okay, but you didn't play basketball.
I did not. No, I was. I realized just how short and slow I was. So I've concentrated on baseball and played for a legendary coach up there, Hugh Stevens,
right,
who coached there, I think, 32 years. And they just dedicated the field to him 2 weeks ago, new stadium.
Right, and I don't want to forget that you played at Hampton High. You played for Fred Balmer his first year coaching at Hampton. Is that correct? I
did. And I played 2 years for Coach Balmer, and he really turned our program around. He was a terrific coach. You know, he was an outstanding player.
Right.
I think he led the nation in hitting one year. Super player, and a good man and a good coach. I was really blessed to play for some of the finest individuals that I've met in my life. Bob Shamlin and Glenn Russell and Fred Balmer, you know, taught me so much more besides sports.
And see, and that's, you know, coaches love to hear this, that, you know, that they've touched you in other ways other than their sport. And they've given you role models, they've mentored you on the way. I mean, you've picked up a lot of things from your coaches, I'm sure, in your business world and in what you're doing now.
I have, you know, those three probably taught me and reinforced the concept of tough love more than my parents. And I started a youth basketball league this past year, and I found myself borrowing everything they gave me. So.
Tell me a little bit about Randolph-Macon. What was that experience like? Because you leave Hampton, you go away to school. Because I had Danny Mitchell in here, and Danny says, you know, I never got over being homesick. Because he lived right across the street from Hampton. He lived in the house that his dad and his grandfather, you know, the same area. So. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to go to the University of South Carolina. Bobby Richardson was the coach down there. And my father died that summer, June, before going away to college. And it's probably a good thing as far as the timing was concerned, because I would have floundered at a big school like South Carolina.
Right.
I think they had 18 second basemen try out.
Oh my goodness.
Randolph-Macon, on the other hand, was an all-male school, about 800 kids, and it was a special time in my life.
Right. Now, when you graduated, you came back on the peninsula, and
this is home.
Tell me a little bit about what happened when you came back.
Well, I went to work at a local construction materials company,
Right.
the Chisholm Ready Mix Concrete Company, because that's what I had done the previous 2 summers. And
Okay.
I had a degree in economics. I was considering going to Rutgers to get a master's in accountancy, and I kind of liked the construction business.
Okay.
And I didn't think I'd like Newark as much as I did Hampton, so here I am.
Yeah, well, Hampton's is your home. It's hard to find something that beats that.
Crabber born and crabber bred, and be a crabber when I'm dead.
Yeah. Sound like Steve James said that's what his daddy always said, Billy James. He said that's what he said from the day he was little. Now, then you started the pilots. When did you get involved in the pilots? And we want to talk a little bit about the stadium also. We're talking about a thing that's been here for 61 years.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I was on the stadium authority in the late '90s, and we had the Virginia Roadsters, a fast pitch softball team, girls fast pitch softball,
Right.
that played there, and they had a grant from AT&T for 3 years. And when the grant ran out, they ran out. The league consolidated down to four teams, and they basically focused around developing the talent for the U.S. Olympic team.
Right, okay.
So we were left without a tenant. And my son, Hank, who was a Hamptonian and is now the manager of our ball club, had played in a summer collegiate wooden bat league in Lexington, Kentucky. I did a little exploration into that concept, and we reached out to a league in North Carolina that he said, I was just getting ready to call you. I'm glad you called.
Wow.
A fellow named Pete Bach, who was in the movie Bull Durham and is the president of our league. We made a deal, and I was going to be just a host family and a fan, and be there for 28 games in the summer. But
It involved a little more than that.
yeah, they had a little trouble. The league sold the franchise. Their business model is to sell the franchises and have someone else run it. So
Right.
sold it to a fellow from Philadelphia who ran it for about 1.5 years, and they had some difficulties. He was very creative and a super nice guy, but they had some difficulties in some of the business arrangements that were going on. So
Right.
the league asked me to become a part owner, and I said, well, I'd like to be a part owner, which I did the second year. And Dave married a girl from Paris. They lived in Buckrow for about 6 months, and then they moved to New York City.
Oh. So you're the only one now.
So yeah.
So roundabout way, Hank had a lot to do with this because
Yeah.
of what he did.
Yeah, actually, I've never looked at it that way, but yeah.
Well, and we'll talk a little bit about Hank. Hank went through the Hampton system, played ball a little bit for Danny Mitchell, if I'm not mistaken.
He did. He enjoyed his years with Danny. Danny is one of the best on-field baseball guys around. Learned a lot from Danny. You know, it's always good to get it from somebody that is not your relative, your
Right.
father. Although Danny and I played a year together in high school, and so it was fun. I was kind of reunited with Danny as well. And Hank went on to play at VMI. He chose to go there because it was really the only Division I school that was interested in him, and he wanted to play Division I baseball. And
Okay.
I said, son, do you realize what you're getting into? He said, I can do it.
Okay.
And he did. And so he went there, and he finished his career up at Christopher Newport University.
Okay. Now, tell the fans a little bit how this team is selected, because these are all college players that come in and play, and they live with host families. Go take me through this.
Yeah, you got it, Bob. It's a summer collegiate wooden bat league team that was really developed to help Major League Baseball evaluate kids swinging a wooden bat, because at some point in the 70s, all of our youth baseball started using metal bats.
Right.
And scouts and ownership could not really tell how good that guy was until they got him signed, and they started swinging wood, and sometimes it was too late. So,
okay.
So that's basically what drove our business model. We're generally regarded as the second best league in the country, behind the Cape Cod League, which has been in existence for since 1898. And we're going to catch them soon, in my lifetime. But it's the best baseball players from all over the country. We've had them from the University of Hawaii, throughout Texas, the Northeast.
Well, how are they selected? I mean, do you have like a draft?
No. It is entirely up to ownership and management's discretion. We go out and we solicit who we want to play for us.
Okay.
So it's a lot of networking with the colleges, college coaches, and following a lot of high school baseball. We appreciate what your channel does for us. This year, for instance, we've got last year's Peninsula District Player of the Year, Terrell Joyce from Newport News, Woodside, playing for us. And this year is the first year that we'll be able to have a high school player. And you can have two. I don't want to have one just to have one.
Right. He's got to be able to produce.
The league's got to approve of it, and we've asked Jake Cave to play for us this summer. And
wow.
Jake's ready for that experience. He's good enough to play.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the stadium, because we're talking about a lot of history and a lot of people. I can remember going there and seeing Johnny Bench catch.
Yeah.
So you've got some other stories other than that. So.
Well, it's 61 years old, and it has seen a lot of history. You're right. We cherish the memories of the stadium and at the stadium. I get a lot of people that when they're leaving the stadium, I try to thank people for coming.
Right.
Because the attendance is what keeps us around.
Right. Absolutely.
Invariably, there'll be somebody with their little 10-year-old son come through the gate that says, I remember when my father used to bring me out here, and I see him bringing his son.
Oh, wow.
And I hope that, that he does the same thing.
But you tell me about somebody through his last pitch.
Well, yeah. The stadium goes back to 1949 and maybe 48. It was built by Branch Rickey for the Baby Dodgers.
Right.
And Branch was busy building 5 stadiums at the time. World War II had ended. Baseball was enjoying a resurgence in America. So Branch was pretty busy. And when he came for opening day, there was 2 lights, the 2 A-poles behind home plate were on the field of play. So he said, well, boys, I guess we made a couple mistakes, but we'll get them moved next year. We moved them 5 years ago, I think, 2005. But Branch was to be excused because he was busy. He was at that time general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers, and he was busy integrating Major League Baseball. He had Jackie Robinson break the color barrier in Major League Baseball. And interestingly, one of the great professionals in the game, Satchel Paige, who was denied the ability to play in professional baseball before Jackie played his last game and threw his last pitch at War Memorial Stadium.
How about that?
Yeah.
And then somebody else got his first hit there.
Yep, you're right. Barry Bonds, the current home run king leader, got his first professional hit there. You mentioned Johnny Bench. I heard Johnny speak at Old Dominion Sports Banquet a few years back, and he mentioned the stadium fondly. Saw Lou Piniella in Nashville at the winter baseball meetings, and it's about 6 o'clock in the morning. We were the only 2 at the coffee jug, and I said, well, I know he's a gruff old guy, but I'm going to see if he would. Yeah. So I told him, I said, Lou, I just want you to know we're still playing baseball where you broke in. He said, where's that? I said, it's at War Memorial Stadium. And he said, well, where is that? I said, it's in Hampton, Virginia. And he scrouched his face up and said, that place was old when I played there. You're right.
But you've done
62.
some renovations there. You've got.
We have. We've had a tremendous amount of cooperation from the city and various departments in the city. We have an outstanding partnership with the Newport News Apprentice School. They play there in the spring. Those things, and our little bit of involvement have enabled us to continue to make small but timely improvements to the ballpark. This year we're going to be christening a new press box and a new roof, which we're really excited about.
Well, I'm looking forward to your season.
I appreciate you being a fan. I saw you out there last year.
I just enjoy it so much. And you go there, you get to see so many people too that come to your games. So.
You do. We've had a couple of reunion classes out there, and actually the class of '69 was out there, and Ralph Wood, who's a Hampton graduate, is our cameraman, and he was involved in the reunion, and he said, every game out here is kind of like a reunion.
Yeah, it is.
And we do enjoy seeing people that we haven't seen in a long time. So.
Well, thank you for coming in.
It's my pleasure.
I want to thank you for tuning in to LSC and Sports Time. I want to thank my special guest, Henry Morgan. I'm Bob Hintz. Until next time.